Hi everyone, and welcome to this Surrogate webcast on the latest features of Power BI. My name is Liz McCreesh. I'm a Principal Consultant here at Surrogate, and I've over 20 years experience of working with different BI tools. So today I'm quite excited to share some of my favourite features of Power BI with you. For those who aren't familiar with Surrogate, we're a specialist business intelligence and analytics consultancy. We have a vast amount of experience delivering solutions through from helping to shape the initial scoping and requirements through to delivery and support, as well as offering strategy services, user adoption and empowerment programs. We are independent and partner with the key vendors in this space, but today we're going to focus in on Microsoft and Power BI in particular. So we've been Microsoft Gold partners for over 15 years and are Gold partners in data platform, analytics and cloud. So just to introduce Power BI a little bit, it's Microsoft's business intelligence software, and it's intended to compete with tools such as Tableau and Qlik. Personally, I think the intuitive nature of Power BI, combined with its ease of use and the self-service capabilities, has really empowered users to make much better data-driven decisions within their workplace. So let's just start with a high-level overview of what you can do with Power BI. First thing is accessing data. So the ability to easily connect to a majority of data sources, whether they're on the cloud or on-prem, is quite a long list available. Once you've got your data, you need to make sure it's clean and good quality. Unfortunately, data doesn't always come in the form that it's needed, and there quite often can be errors. So Power BI provides an easy way to clean the data and model it into a format where it's optimized for reporting. Mashing up the data. So we often need to combine data from multiple sources in order to produce the reports that are needed. For example, you might have IT curated data sitting in a database, but you've got your own separate files in Excel which give you additional attributes for things like your products that aren't in the IT curated space. And you might want to join that data together to see how those groupings can be used for your reports. Once you've got a good set of data together, you can explore that data by drilling down, slicing and dicing, and looking to find some insights and hidden trends in the data. So part of the way to do that is to use some of the visualizations. So there's a number of visualizations available in Power BI that are out of the box, and you can extend that list by also going onto the marketplace, where there are a number of Microsoft certified additional visualizations available. My personal favorite is the aquarium, but we won't be showing that one today. And then once you've got a nice, intuitive and visually appealing report, you can publish that to the Power BI service and share that with others. And once you've shared that, that can be available to people on their laptops, phones and mobile devices. So in terms of the Power BI stack, there are a few different components. The desktop is a free download, and you install that on a local user's machine. And here we can do that kind of data loading, transformation, and creating visualizations. I'd said before, we can then publish those to the Power BI service, which is in the cloud. And people can still interact on the cloud, download the data sets and work with them separately. And from here, we can create dashboards, which allows us to pin visualizations from different reports and data sets together to create a high-level executive view of key visualizations. With the Power BI desktop, there are monthly updates that happen. There are far too many for us to go through in detail today. But just to give you an idea of the kind of change that's happening, I've just highlighted the changes that were just done in December. If we went back and even tried to pick a few months' worth, there's quite a lot in here. So what we've done today is we picked some of the newer features. Also, there's some that have been about for a while that I've included that I think are pretty cool, and not everyone's aware of them if you're not on top of looking at each month and what the updates are available. So we'll just pick a few of these and kind of go through them in a bit more detail. So I've kind of grouped the ones we're going to cover today into a few different areas. So I mentioned that you can connect to multiple data sources from Power BI. Today we'll be looking at connecting to the web and also some enhancements to the PDF connector. Data prep, we're going to look at two of the features, so fuzzy merge, so when you're trying to join your data together and doing mappings, and data profiling, which gives you a high-level view of the quality of the data. Then we go on to reporting, so this is where we'll actually be showing the tool in action. The first bit is just a little bit of admin, so it gives you ideas about the data that you're connecting to and how good quality it is. Decomposition tree is I think it's actually still in preview, so it's actually been available from November, I believe. Anyone who used to use ProClarity will find this very familiar. And report tooltips, they've been around for quite a while, but I've noticed that when we've been running training courses that people don't seem to be aware of them, so I thought I'd include that. I think they're very handy. And then into the analytics arena, the Q&A feature has been around for a while, first on the Power BI service on dashboards and more recently on the desktop. And that's been enhanced as well over the last couple of releases, so we'll just touch on that. Again, Analyze Insights has been available for a while, but they've just extended that so you can cope with more data. Key Influencers has been here for a few months now, Personally, it's one of my favourite visualizations, so it always gets a mention from me. And then we'll just touch upon a few other improvements which are applicable for Gut Premium and the other ones for Power BI Service. So first we're going to look at the data connectors. So with the web example, you can connect to a web page and pull off any data that can be found in tables and other non-structured formats and populate that data and pull it into your report. Recently, I've also been doing some connecting for one of our clients who had files coming in to their Outlook, and we then connected into the Outlook folder and downloaded all of the attachments which were in the same format and blended that into a table. So there's a lot of the ways you can use connectors which are really quite innovative. And PDFs were recently added to the list of connectors. They've just extended that slightly so you can be a bit more specific. So if you know you only want to clip a certain number of pages from the PDF that's loaded in, then you can specify that. So this keeps getting extended and improved constantly in terms of what you can do with it. On to some of the data prep features. First of all, we're going to talk about fuzzy merge. For many years, we've been working with customers where you have our clients where you've got different feeds coming in from different sources. You might have Joe blogs, J blogs, Mr. with a spelt out MR. And what you can do with fuzzy merge is try to link that data together in a much more intuitive way. And you can control some of the settings that are in here as well. And the data profiling. There are a couple of different checkboxes you can turn on. So you can see here in the query editor, we've turned on quality, column distribution, and column profile. And what that does is for each of our fields in our source table, I can see where we've got errors, where we've got empty values. I can look at the distribution of the data. So it gives me a very quick view into the data quality of the data I'm loading before I start and see if I need to do any more cleaning to strip out sort of errors and investigate any outliers. Into reporting, and the first few are kind of more admin, and then we will actually get into Power BI itself. So in terms of data security, being able to decide whether people can download certain sets of data just gives you more security within your applications. With the data lineage, we can see what's being used in terms of which data sources are used in which reports. And when we're sharing data sets, we can also add a level of certification in here. So I can say that I've endorsed a set of data, and I know that it's been rubber stamped, or I can do a higher level endorsement that only the admin can do. It gives people a feeling of security of knowing which data sets they could or should be working with. This one's a bit more of a, if you're actually developing yourself, it's quite handy. If you're setting up your report and want to group things together, rather than having to, as was before, individually move every single piece together, you can now actually group things and move them as a whole, which is very handy. I won't show that today. What I will do now is go into Power BI itself. One of the later features used to be to set the theme, so the themes within Power BI, you can change your different default color palettes. I do quite a lot of Power BI training, and if I just create a simple table here, and I'm going to bring on some sales, and I'm going to bring on some product information category. I often get a lot of complaints when we're doing training that the numbers are by default are quite small, but I can go into here now, and rather than having to write JSON code, which is how you had to do it before, I can come in and customize my theme, whether it's changing my default colors or changing my text. So I can change my default sizes, which I've shown already, some of them. Keep that as that. I can apply, and you can see I've now changed that font, and it'll make it a lot easier to read. And I can do that. When I apply that, it will apply to all of my existing visualizations. So we talked earlier about mentioning about the Q&A features within Power BI. You can see we now have a new visualization type, which is Q&A, or I can double-click on the background. And you can see that first of all, what it's done is it's suggested some questions for me that people have asked in the past, and it's put the most popular ones first. Or I can start trying to type myself. So I'm interested in looking at trade profit. Now, at the minute it's got a red score under there, because at the minute it's saying, well, actually, I'm not too sure what it is you're asking for. If I keep typing, it says now I've got a blue line, because it now recognizes that phrase. And I'm going to do by channel. In the older versions, the visualization at this point would have stopped the Q&A feature, and it would have been a static view. But now I can continue working with it. So it's giving me a table which isn't really what I wanted. So I'm going to say the sum of trade profit by channel, and that's actually a better visualization for me. I can still resize that and play with it. and I'm going to say it as a pie chart. So very quickly, I've just gone in, done some quick typing, and I've got my visualization as I would like it. They've been extending the Q&A tool. So if I look at this little cogs, it allows me some settings. So I can have a look and see the kind of questions that people on the Power BI, once I publish the Power BI service, what people are typing into the Q&A window. So if I can see if everyone's always asking for splits by certain attributes, then maybe I need to add that into my report so people aren't having to always go and search for it. So it gives me a feel for what questions are being asked. I can go in and teach the Q&A in certain terms and questions it might be asking. So I can add that in now, and that will be stored as a sample Q&A. And I can start putting in alternative terms and phrases as well. I think that's quite a good extension to that capability. And when I'm happy with my visual, I can decide to pin it and create a static version. And now I can go in and change my other formats as I would normally do if I created it from a visualization. And I can change my labels as well to be category and the value. So just behave like any other visualization from that point forwards. So next I was going to show the decomposition tree, which is in preview. And notice a lot of the features I've said, some of them are in general release and some are in preview. If you do want to ensure that you're seeing everything, go to Options and Settings, Options, and I can look and see which preview features are available and which ones I've turned on. So there's a new one that's appeared that I haven't checked. I'm going to check that one in. And I haven't updated the ribbon. Personally, I prefer the older one, so I'm going to leave that as is. But that's where you go to make sure you get all of the preview features. So the decomposition tree is a newly arrived feature. That's the slicer for it. And what it allows me to do is I've just created one to start off with here. And I'm looking at my sellout volume. And because I've not got any splits, it's just giving me that total number. So what I need to work out is what fields I want to use to explain by. So I'm going to search for channel. I'm going to search for brand. And I'm going to search for sector. And now you'll see I've got a little plus next to my visualization. If I click on that, I can, the default is that it shows the highest sorted by the highest value. And I can choose which of my three attributes I want to drill down through first. So I'm going to choose channel. So I get very quickly, I get a very quick visual that shows me very much that large supermarkets and hypermarkets are my biggest sellout volume. I can then decide what I want to look at next. So now I'm going to look at sector. And I can then look within any of my channels just to see, is it the same sector splits? And then again, I can choose to then finally go into my brands. And again, I can look at any combination. If instead I'm coming in and I'm actually a brand manager, so my first focus is my brands, I can change the order that I want to drill down. So first I can look at my brands, then I'm going to look at my channels. And again, I can just quickly click through. I think it's pretty neat. You can do a lot of formatting as well with the colors and everything to really make it blend in with your data, but I think it's pretty neat. The next feature I was going to show is the report tooltips. So normally in Power BI, we can set what data we want to see on the tooltip. So generally it's whatever data is on your visualization, and you can also add in additional metrics that you want to see. You can extend that, however, by creating a tooltip report. So here I've created a visualization, and it's actually a tooltip, and I've set the page to let me know that the size that I need to work with is a tooltip size. So I've linked that to my metric for retailer profit. So in this visualization now, if I hover, rather than getting the standard tooltip, I now get that report. And it's showing me in the context for the Williams, or I can choose a different customer. And as I hover over, you can see that the pie chart changes for whatever I've got selected. So if I'm interested in understanding that split by subcategory, normally I would need to do a drill-through report and go and look at another level of detail. But here I don't need to do that. It just gives me a very high-level split and without me having to leave that page. I think that's pretty neat. So next we're going to look at one of the features that's been here for a while. Here we've got a standard line chart. I can't resist not having a line chart and going in and messing with it a little bit. So I'm just going to go into the analytics pane. I'm going to add a trend line and a forecast. So that functionality has been there a while, but I think I like to put it on. And what I can do here is I can pick a particular customer. I can look at that forecast, and there's a feature called Analyze the Difference. So if I see this drop between June and July, if I go to that data point, right-click, Analyze, Explain the Decrease, what it will do is it'll go away and look at the attributes of my data, and it will try to see how it can best explain what's happened between those two periods, May and June, sorry. You see there's a little tick mark here. This isn't a massive data set, so it's managed to look through all of the data. But if you had a very, very large data set, it will do what it can within a few minutes. And then there's an option that will appear here to say, do you want to continue and spend the extra time analyzing the entire data set? So you can turn that on, and it will just take a little bit longer to return, but it will analyze the full set of data. So here I can see where it's trying to explain the difference, and it's also given me some commentary. So we can see that within the size class, bulk is the only one that increased, but there was a massive decrease in small. I can scroll down and see the other attributes, but I think that one looks quite interesting to me. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to add that to my report. I just need to do a bit of resizing, and that's available for me then to interact with, like any visual, so I can see what that impact is on the size across my different sectors or across different brands. And the next one I'm going to show is our key influencers visualization. So here I've set up a classification where I've grouped my turnover into high, no change, a little bit of growth or a decrease. If I look at the high growth, what this key influencers is showing me is which single attribute is having the biggest impact on my high growth. So we can see here with the size class bulk that you are nearly 3 times as likely to be in that high growth bucket if you're in the bulk size. And you can see that based on the average, it is a lot higher. A little bit less is if the channel is pharmacy or chemist, but again, we can see it's the highest influencer. And then we've got the route to market is wholesaler. So they're completely different attributes within our data set, but it shows which is having the single biggest effect. If I look at my decrease, we can see that the moisturizers are more likely to be in the decreasing section. And again, I can interact with my charts. And if I'm just interested in deodorants, we can see that the size class large means you're more likely to be a decrease, and the bulk and then the drugstore channel are your highest growth. So it gives me insights without me having to go trawling through my data. So the key influencers here is just looking at a single attributes. The segment section is looking at combinations of items. So here it's only found one significant value because I've got deodorants filtered. But within deodorants, the brand Maria Carmen and the bulk size seems to be our highest growth. I take that filter off. You can see that it's found a few more segments where we're looking across our whole category. And here our highest growth is if it's storm, not pharmacies, and not deodorant. The next highest is not storm, not pharmacies, and bulk. So we're seeing a recurring message here with some of the size class and some of the categories. So I can go away and do some further analyses based on these results. If you've got premium Power BI, which is you've got your own dedicated space, at the minute with Power BI, you do a refresh and it refreshes all of the data. But currently in preview and premium is the ability to say, I only want to take in data where the change date is before or after a certain date. And you can then schedule that refresh, and basically it means that you're not having to take that hit of taking in all of your data in once every single time. You're just taking the increment, which in a large data set will be is a massive improvement. I know we've just showed the desktop tool, but in Power BI Service, the ability to create your own bookmarks. So if you're always looking at a certain combination of selections, you can apply that to your report, then add a bookmark, and then the next time you go back in, you can just use that selection and have that as your default. Power Apps is part of there's a lot of power going on in Microsoft. We've got Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, and these can all work together to add enhancements. So Power BI is generally used for reporting and visualization and analytics, but by using Power Apps, you can create write-back routines, so you can add your own commentary, you can add updates, and it takes the context of what you've got selected in Power BI. So we've got some other demonstrations. I can send some links out to people who are interested in learning more about Power Apps. And an automatic page refresh as well. So normally when you connect to a database from Power BI, you get a choice to either import the data into memory, which gives you faster performance, but it does mean that you take the data at a point in time. If you're using direct query, that means that every time you run a select statement or try to make a selection, it will go back to the database and get the latest information. Here you can then start scheduling how quickly you want those pages to be refreshed, and it can then monitor as well what that performance is looking like. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My email is on the screen, and thank you for your time.